Hello, welcome to the Subspace Developer Sync, bi-weekly sync. Today we have, I guess we have a fairly packed agenda. It felt like it was going to be pretty light when I started putting it together, but it seems we've added some stuff to it. So we go ahead and jump in. So last week, much of the team was in Austin, Texas for Consensus 2024. We had a pretty good time hanging out with each other and hanging out with a lot of other projects and a lot of events, networking. It's fun. I think on this call, Emil, Mark, we're there. We brought home a hackathon prize. I just found out about. More on that later in the call. Nice work, Mark, and looking forward to hearing about what you built. From a themes of the conference, I'd say, from my point of view, DPIN was everywhere. So the decentralized physical infrastructure, which is admittedly not a term I'd heard until ETH Denver this year. So I think somebody's created a term for a category that's obviously existed for a while. Related to that, of course, and not related to that, many different types of projects, but AI was kind of front and center everywhere as well, and continues to be an important space across the ecosystem. Some for better, some maybe not, but it is definitely something that is out there, and we continue to kind of make our mark in that space as well. So with that, Emil, you want to give an ecosystem update as Jim's out of the office today?
Yeah, of course, I'd be happy to. Hey everyone, so let me start with the Gemini 3H update. We have almost 140 gigabytes pledged, which fluctuates a little bit over the weekend, but I think we've even crossed 140 gigabytes last week, so which is a great number for Gemini 3H. On the community side, as we mentioned before, a Galaxy Verified Farmer campaign was creating some noise for the community. We've tried to fix these issues by putting some massive warnings on the Galaxy side, kind of on the Galaxy page, and also we've made some few extra clarifications in the docs, but it didn't really help. So at this time, we decided to pause the campaign on Galaxy. That being said, if you still want to have the verified farmer role, it is still available, it's still up and running. So you just have to go through the Astral, and we have a documentation in the docs which reference how do you get the verified farmer role. So it's still out there. We just no longer have the Galaxy campaign. We've also investigating some new options on the community engagement side. We've chatted with at least 2 other on-chain engagement platforms on the Consensus 2024 last week, and we actually might give them a chance. So we are actively working on reducing the noise and a number of bots coming from this kind of campaigns to our Discord and Telegram, while focusing on supporting and growing the number of farmers. As for some hot topics for the Gemini 3H, I see that people are testing the clusters and figuring them out, which is absolutely great, and that's something that we absolutely love seeing. We've had a farmer office hours last Wednesday, where Randy performed a demo on how do you, what the clusters are, how do you set it up, how do you connect them all together. And it's an amazing demo. So if you haven't figured it out yet, I highly recommend rewatching the farmer office hours. It's available on our YouTube channel. And I just caught up on the conversations on Discord this morning. So it seems like there is no really major issues for the farmers, which is also amazing. There are still some issues with the high RAM usage on Windows on the latest release. I know we've also chatted about this slightly on last week on the farmers office hours. If you're struggling with the high RAM usage on Windows for your machine, we recommend trying May 6th release for the advanced CLI because it seems to be lacking this issue. And Nazar is aware of it, and once he is able to figure out what's causing it, I'm sure that the new release is be on your way and it's going to be fixed as soon as possible. Yes, this is all from the ecosystem team. Over to you, Jeremy.
Great, thank you, Emil. All right, on that same, I guess, theme a bit, Nazar has been hard at work, as always, improving the farmer experience. That's included many things, some big, some small. I know I'll just hand over to Nazar to kind of talk about where we are, farming UX.
Absolutely. Just one more thing to mention on the ecosystem side. There is actually a tutorial, I think 2 tutorials about farming cluster from Alex Hake Hardware on YouTube, which is a little bit more expanded and it uses Docker. So if you are interested in that one, you can also check it out. It should be helpful. In terms of improvements, I think the biggest one is something that Shamil was working on for a few months and it's finally almost ready. It's something we call SnapSync. And essentially, the gist of it is that you will be able to sync your node for farming purposes in less than an hour. The way it works is kind of similar to the snapshots that some community members were providing, but it should be even faster because those snapshots can be like 1-2 days old. And the way SnapSync works, it will try to identify the target where to sync, just like usually. But instead of syncing, like downloading all of the history along the way, it will just teleport into the future and it will just download the latest history and then continue from there, which takes very little time comparing to the full sync. So that should hopefully resolve an issue where you need to spend 2-3 days waiting for farmer to sync, for node to sync. And there is additional change that will be merged today, I think, that will decrease disk usage by node. The previous default configuration was using an option that basically forced node to store all of the state transitions from the very beginning to the very end. And that is an ever-growing amount of space. And the new release will switch to a different default where you'll be able to only store recent history. And we found how many recent blocks you need to actually store state for. And in combination with the snap sync, it will be a big upgrade into how you were syncing your nodes before. There was another challenge frequently reported by users that your node may just stuck in sync progress without actually making progress for a very long time. And I think I found where the issue is. I'm not sure how to resolve it, but there is a workaround that will be included in the next release, and hopefully it will never get actually like that stuck. It will continue making progress. There was also a few reports about Yamox warnings that will be resolved as well, according to early testers. By the way, thanks everyone on YouTube, on Discord and forum for testing different builds, some of which we're working, some of which we're not, providing feedback on early changes so we can ship higher quality software especially for the issues we cannot reproduce ourselves. So thanks a lot for that. The other topic is Windows memory usage. What is happening kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, but it does happen. The challenge is that it's really hard to reproduce. It takes like 6, 7, 10 hours to actually happen. The changes I was trying to make to like accelerate the process didn't really help. The result in memory usage was about the same with all the new release. I think there will be a rollback of some of the changes for Windows users specifically. So piece caching will be less performant and potentially a little bit problematic, but it will at least not have this issue until we figure out what is actually happening. The other thing was some users reported for a while that when they have a lot of farmers connected to the node, they see RPC timeouts and other issues where farms are crashing. The new farmer will also change the behavior a little bit closer to how the farming cluster operates, and it should help with those timeouts. Hopefully, we'll see what feedback community has on that one. There were some login fixes for the farming cluster where the logs had this prefix from different farms, and I did say that was confusing, I know. So that will be resolved. Who faced that, you will know what I'm talking about. And there will be some also tuning for default parameters of some of the options that should hopefully make things move faster. And there will probably be some fixes for the timeouts. I collected some of the additional debug logs from folks. So farming cluster should perform better than it did originally. And yes, more metrics and other things are still to come. It just takes time to implement everything. There are more changes which are not like already merged or in open pull request. I'm just mentioning something that is almost definitely coming in like a few days. But there will be more changes, more improvements, and SnapSync will probably also progress. Right now, we can only use it for the initial setup. So, like if you start from scratch, it will use SnapSync to sync to the tip, and then from there you will continue with regular sync. So if you like go down for 2 days and then you decide to start your node again, well, it would be faster to delete database and start over, essentially in that case, which is counterintuitive, but that's just how it is. It takes some effort to work around Substrate to make it actually sync. So we will fix that at some point. It will be possible to just resume with SnapSync all the time if you are a farmer. But note that for operator, you will have to do the full sync as usual. There are different requirements in that context. Yeah, I think those are the biggest updates, but expect more improvements going forward.
Great, thank you, Nazar. Daria, I know the protocol is ever moving forward, and a big part of kind of the next steps in the protocol is getting kind of an audit complete, or at least complete up to where we are in the code. What's the state of our audit progress at the moment?
Oh, yeah, we're now at the stage where we are trying to build some more official reputational stamp that our commitment to security is not just in our words and talks. Have actually other pretty respectable people certify that, and this is done by Security Research Labs, or SR Labs, pretty famous guys in the field. We have been collaborating with them on an ongoing audit for more than a year now, and they will be giving us a report by the 2-3 weeks, hopefully by the end of the month for sure, which will cover all of the functional parts of the protocol stack, from consensus, proof of time, plotting, farming, decoupled execution framework, XDM. Now they're basically reviewing the last part, which are the fraud proofs, to which we have done a bunch of fixes in the last couple of weeks. So they need to review those, and then they will be able to produce a report, which we will be putting out on the website. It will be public, it will be readable, everybody's going to be able to access it. And the engagement is going to be ongoing. So as we work, as we fix more things, is because people know that like even a single change in the code may like undo, may introduce very big bugs, like we've seen in the various crypto projects. So we are continuing the audit after the report as well, and there will be a new version coming out with like new updates, and that will be an ongoing engagement. But yep, getting official.
It's feeling real, I guess. It's getting real here, so that's great. Love seeing all the progress and feeling like we are getting closer to something. So, all right, next, Mark. I know you were hard at work. You were often away from the kind of main event at Austin, where you were hacking away at your hackathon project, which I know now had a payoff as well. Like you did, you were able to place. Why don't you kind of give us an update on what it was you were working on?
Yeah, so when I saw that Consensus had a hackathon, I wanted to participate in my first hackathon, and at the same time make the best of it. So build something that will contribute to the Subspace ecosystem, as well as be eligible for one of the track. Polkadot had a very wide track where anyone building something that contributes to the ecosystem, or a pirate chain, or using the Polkadot utility and dependency was eligible. So I decided to build something that was a bit like IPFS, but on-chain. So basically allowing to upload files. It's called fileonchain.org. It allows you to upload any files and chunk it depending the size limit of a transaction on the chain choose. So in our case, we can support pretty large chunk of data. So I'm chunking the files to 256 kilobytes, even if we can support more. That's the standard of IPFS. And then each chunk are linked together, allowing to rebuild the original file. And from a CID, an identifier for that file. So if you try to upload the same file, we can also detect that this file already exists and serve you the URL for that file. It's not fully complete. There's still a few bugs and few other features that I want to work on. The ideal goal at the end will be to have a bit of a relay that's function the same way as an IPFS gateway. So then any project using IPFS could switch to use this service instead and upload their files to Subspace Network directly. Since IPFS is not a permanent store, it's very easy if the files are not pinned by multiple nodes for the files to stop existing. And in our case, if the file or the chunks of files exist on Subspace Network, they are permanently stored and always available. You pay only for the transaction, publish them once, and after that, the files are there forever. So I thought it could be useful in the future for anything we build. And yeah, I won the third prize on the Polkadot track, so $1,000. So that's fun.
Amazing, amazing. So that's great. And I know we have some upload bandwidth constraints, Daria, that you and your research team are working hard to kind of figure out as well and make something like this even more useful into the future. So great.
Yeah, I mean, we have always been committed to maximum decentralization. That means keeping the boundary requirements and all hardware requirements for farmers as low as possible. However, that kind of like conflicts with having high upload limit. So we're trying to apply algorithmic and mathematical things of scaling to work around that.
You and the research team are miracle workers. So all the faith in you guys getting that figured out. So great. All right. Next, Destin. I know for a little background, we've had some issues with Frontier EVM when I believe both internally and at least one project externally trying to deploy onto the network ran into some problems, maybe some out of gas problems. Destin kind of dug into what's driving that. You want to, and this was a kind of specific to Forge or within Foundry, for deploying contracts. Destin, you want to give an update on kind of what you found and what a fix may be?
Sure. Hey everyone. So yeah, as Jeremy mentioned, Avi and I think some other ecosystem project reported that deploying the same set of contracts on Nova EVM was throwing errors with out of gas. And while it was successful on Ethereum testnet Sepolia, so we've identified the issue, and it is completely not a protocol issue. It's UX, more like UX and like a Forge specific issue. The thing is, Forge or Foundry basically just simulates some transactions instead of querying for the transactions fee. So it simulates, and that fee or gas is not enough on all the Frontier chains, and many other, not many other, some Frontier chains, they have a specific, let's say, override in the upstream Forge, where they put their chain ID so that they force calculating gas with RPC. So yeah, basically we identified the issue, and we have a set of solutions for it as well. So I'm currently working on fixing the configuration values, changing them so that to see if it could fix, and if it doesn't, then we will also resort to the same fix that other frontier chains did, like Moonbeam. So yeah, that's all.
Great. Well, it kind of ties into the next one is that the next point is that we are going to be kind of moving into a developer focus at Subspace with the community. We've got upcoming Hacker Month, I believe, being planned alongside with Stake Wars, or Stake Wars 2 being planned. So it'll be important for us to have, of course, our EVM chain kind of compatible with the UX others or that are experienced on other chains. Additionally, we're going to be building out an SDK, TypeScript SDK, focused on developers. The first two groups of developers that SDK will be supporting are going to be those who are going to be building tooling around the consensus chain. So that's likely going to be something focused on staking, nominating, kind of the whole operator workflow. That's currently being done in Astral, but we'd love to see community members also kind of jumping in and maybe building out staking interfaces and tooling to see to kind of get more views and such. So we're really looking forward to seeing what can be done there, and we want to make it as easy as possible for developers to jump in and start contributing there. Additionally, it's been mentioned a few times on here that we're working on a identity framework that will be on chain, auto ID, that is continuing to be developed, and the SDK of course will be kind of targeted towards those who want to build on that framework. So a lot of exciting things kind of getting started here as we are heading into summer. So that is all that we had for today. Is there anything anybody else wanted to add before we sign off? All right. We will see you back in 2 weeks then. Thank you.